and welcome back to my channel. Hi, I'm Teresa from 360 Handmade Bags and welcome to my sewing studio. So for today's tutorial, we are making the tall wallet from SewGnar. I've made several of these in the past, but I haven't made it for some time. And so this is the pattern. I don't have any to show you. That's what I was trying to say. So this is the pattern. There's 10 card slots. There's an ID window, and on the back of it, there is a zipper pocket for your coins. So now the fabric that I'm going to be using in this tutorial, I am using the Mora faux leather in purple or grape. And of course it's purple. And I'm using probably the last piece of my number 5 zipper tape in rainbow. And I'm using this rainbow hardware for the zipper pull, and my sew-in bag tag, which is one of my new ones, my newest one with my newest logo from the Spotted Zebra on Etsy, and they're from Alberta. And then the ID window backing is a piece of waterproof canvas with the PVC backing from Sam Fabric Creations in Quebec. And it's just a little piece. It's a scrap buster. So this is the fabric that I'm using. Now, when you cut your, this one card slot piece out, it has the window ID square that you cut, and you keep that piece to use to make your snap tab. So you would cut a piece. This is the snap tab template. I'm just going to be cutting it right straight across, and then I'm going to curve around the bottom and not have this angle. And so this is the piece that would be cut out of your ID window. And you don't have to throw it away. It gets used to make the one side of your snap tab. So it's a really good time saver and less waste. Now, to make the credit card slots, to make the pockets inside the wallet, there's a few fabrics that you can use. You can use the thinner the better. And you can use, a lot of people buy the thin black landscape fabric from your local hardware store, Home Depot or whatever. And it's very, very thin. You don't need anything thick, because this is a very slim wallet, and it has a very slim profile, which I just absolutely love. It doesn't take up hardly any room in a bag. And in a way, it's similar to the Purse Pal from Lynn's Handmade in the slimness of it, except for it's a bifold, and it does have a snap tab, and there's 10 card slots, but it's just as thin and holds a lot, because it also has 2 slip pockets on the inside for your cash, if anybody still carries a credit checkbook and all of that stuff. So you can use the landscape fabric, the black landscape fabric. It's not very expensive. You can get a roll of it, and it'll last, honestly, forever. I also use some RFID or Faraday material that I cut in the long strips to sew in. But today I'm using something different. I've had this in my stash for a long time. It's an 1.5 inch wide ribbon that I got at Walmart. And of course it's purple. So even though the measurement in the pattern says 2 inches wide for your card slots, you can still get away with using an 1.5 inch. And that also helps keep it away from the edges that you're sewing. And it's thin. This is still thin. So I'm going to use this. Might as well use it up and go from there. Now, before I forget, if you are a regular here on my channel, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with me and sewing with me. And I really, really appreciate all of you guys. And if you're new to my channel, well, welcome aboard. I try to explain things, I do explain things in great detail, because I'm always keeping in the back of my mind that we have brand new bag makers like I was 3 years ago, and I learned so much watching YouTube tutorials on YouTube, like this one. And my sewing skills, even though I've sewn since I was 12 years old, my sewing skills have dramatically improved. And one of the bag makers that I hooked onto or connected with right from the start was Barbie from Jeannie's Designs in the US. And, you know, I've learned a lot from there and what have you. So also, just so that you know, I'm wearing one of her t-shirts. It's a beautiful thing is her slogan. And if you're interested in you're in the US, because I'm in Canada, so I source all of my hardware and fabrics from Canada. But if you're in the US and you're looking for great hardware and a great website to shop on for all of your bag making needs, go to Jeannie's Designs. It's www.jeanniebags.com. So it's right here on my t-shirt. Go check out Barbie's website. It's jeanniebags.com and do all of your bag hardware shopping. And she's got a lot of stuff on there. Also check out her YouTube tutorials, her channel on YouTube as well. Alrighty, so, but if you're not currently a subscriber, down on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a little red subscribe button. So just click that, subscribe, make sure the bell notification is set to all posts so that you don't miss any upcoming tutorials or when I do go live, just for a chit chat or a sew along or whatever. Alrighty, so enough of that, of the infomercial. That's all done. So what we're going to work on right now at the moment is we're going to work on the snap tab. This takes a bit of time if you use glue. So you can use double-sided tape, which is what I'm going to use today. The glue just takes too much time. So one of the things is I want to lay out my magnetic snap first. One of the things I'd like you guys to let me know about is how is this angle for the tutorials? I used to have it more level, a little bit level with the desk, and now this is kind of, this view kind of looks down more onto the table. You can still see my sewing machine and my sticker from Atelier in New Brunswick. Like all Canadians say, sorry. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on this piece of fabric, scrap fabric, this is the piece that I cut out from the ID window. I'm going to mark where my magnetic snap, the male portion of my magnetic snap, is going to be put on. Now, one of the things that I do to support my snaps is I use duct tape. Just cut my finger. Great. All right, so I'm just going to take a piece of duct tape. Okay, so I'm just going to take my stylus on my duct tape and I'm just going to stick it in the center of that. And then I'm going to, the mark that I just made to mark where my magnetic snap is going to go, the male portion, I'm just sticking the tip of my stylus down onto there. So now this duct tape is going to help support that magnetic snap so that when there's some pressure on it from the force of pulling it open and closed and all of that, it doesn't, it's more stable. It's not going to rip. I'm going to take my washer. I don't have rainbow colored magnetic snaps, but it's not going to make a difference. And I'm going to line up that mark that I just made with my stylus. I'm going to line up the hole to that mark and then draw my slits for where my magnetic snap is going to go. All right, so I'm just going to make my the marks. I'm line up that hole with the hole that I made, and I'm just going to make the marks. And I did them like that. Take my seam ripper, jack the seam ripper, and just make my little slits for the male portion of the magnetic snap. And it's that one, the male, if you're not familiar with them. Flip it over to the right side and put the prongs into the fabric. Take my washer, put the washer over top of the prongs, and then I splay the prongs open. And because they never sit straight, because my fingers aren't strong enough, I don't bang them with a hammer. I just push those prongs up against the desk and it flattens them. It's very easy. All right, and then I take another piece of duct tape and I put that over top of those prongs to cover the prongs so that if there's any friction or whatever, if they were left open, the metal prongs and the metal washer would rub against the upper fabric and it would cause possible fraying. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, that goes here, sorry. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is take my double-sided tape right here in front of me. I could use fabric glue like this or Beacon 3-in-1. I get this fabric glue from Walmart. This is a 4-ounce bottle. I've had this bottle for quite a few, probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. But this works really great. It may not dry as fast as the Beacon Fabri-Tac, but it's still very, very good. All right, so I'm just going to take my double-sided tape and I'm just going to lay it across the wrong side, and I'm going to put a couple of strips down so the upper piece will be held on. I could, like I said, I could use glue with this, but it'll take a long time to dry. All right, just take my backings off. This is the hardest part with double-sided tape, is taking the backings off, especially when you've just cut your nails. Okay. All right, so the other piece, I just cut a scrap piece. There was no measurement or anything like that, but I just like to cut it big so that I can lay this down and center it on it just to make sure that it's going to fit. Just line up the ends. Doesn't really matter about this end. That's all going to be sewn in, and it doesn't matter if the other piece is not even, because I have overhang here. So I'm just going to trim, because I know that this piece is pretty accurate. The piece that I cut out for my ID window, it is accurate to the size that I want it, except for I'm not going to do this angle. And I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim off the excess. Just so I can have an idea of my sewing. And I forgot to mention, the thread that I'm using is from EMMALINE bags, and it is the purple 45 tex weight nylon bonded thread. It's fairly new on their website. I really, really like it. It doesn't fray when you put it in the needle, try to thread your needle. You know, like a lot of other threads, they untwist and you have to keep cutting the end off and try to feed it through your needle. This is wonderful thread. It's hard to see. It's Tex 45. And it's probably comparable to, they also sell 75 Tex or 70 Tex weight strong bond bonded nylon in large spools as well. So I'm wanting to try that. Waywax sells the same almond strong bond nylon bonded 70 tex weight as well. So that's waywack.ca. I'm sure there's a waywack in the US as well. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch around all of this, and when I get to these corners, I'm going to kind of curve them and then stitch across, curve, and then go up here. And I have my stitch length, it's 3. But I just want to see where that's, I've got to watch for that magnetic snap. I don't want that in the way of my sewing. Okay, and I'm sewing on the right side. About 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm just going to start angling for my curve. Now this is a raw edge wallet, so you can edge coat if you choose to do that. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do yet. Edge coating is not my forte. Okay, so there I have stitched. Isn't that gorgeous? That thread, it is just really pretty. And even the underside, it's perfect. All right, so I'm just going to trim all of this around just to kind of tidy it up. Alrighty, and I'm just going to take my lighter just to the edges, just to clean up any fuzzies. Smooth out those edges if they need to be smoothed. I'll see if I'm going to edge coat. It'll be a surprise. All right. So there is our snap tab, all made. I like the curviness better than that angle. The other bags that I have, the wallets I've made that have that angle, it kind of, the corner gets kind of bent. But this is nice, and just a nice tab. All right. Now, one of the things also, so we're going to work on next, is one of the card slot pieces, and it's the one that has your ID window in it. Okay, so I have already cut my slits that are on the pattern, and of course I've cut my ID window out. I'm just going to take a lighter because you can see some of the fuzzies along the edges, and I'm just going to melt those edges just to trying to clean up some of those raw edges on that ID window. Okay, now what I have done is I have already put double-sided tape on here for the ID window, and I've already put double-sided tape underneath each slit. So the one thing we're going to do first is the vinyl window for your wallet, for your ID pockets. So it's going to go on the inside. Now this one here, the vinyl that I use is, I got it when I was making my own cards, to make shaker cards. And I just had this left over, and it works. When I first started, I bought a clear shower curtain, and it worked. And I used that for my ID windows, and it was inexpensive. You can get a cheap one at the dollar store. All right, so this has a film on it, just like that, just to protect it. You're always going to get fingerprints on this. So what I'm going to do first is take the backing off of this piece. Take the double-sided tape backing off and get it off. Okay. Take the backing off of my ID window, or the film. Okay, it's static. Okay, and lay your ID, your vinyl window, over top of that hole, kind of centered around, so that there's about 1/4 of an inch on either side of the ID window, just so you have it centered. Now all my tape's coming off onto this. Okay, and then I'm going to stitch on the right side an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all around the hole to hold the vinyl window in, and I'm going to be pulling my threads to the back. Depending on the vinyl that you use, just just watch, because it can stick to your machine bed. Okay, and we'll just take these threads and just tie them. Then you don't see any back stitching on the front, and it keeps your front looking neat and tidy. And I'll just take my lighter to those ends. All right, so there is our ID window all sewn in. This is going to be the slot that the your ID will go in, just like that. Now, this bottom is not going to be attached, and what we have to do is do a dummy stitch across this bottom edge. So the slit, make sure when you do your stitching, your slits, it's always below the slit. So I'm going to do a dummy stitch from across here to here, and I will be tying my threads off to the back. And this just finishes that slit. What takes the time with this wallet is pulling your threads to the back and tying them off. But I would highly recommend this 45 tex weight, especially if you have lighter weight or medium jobs to do. And a domestic machine would be able to handle this no problem whatsoever. All right, and I'll just burn those threads. Okay. So there's our dummy stitch line, and that kind of helps protect the this edge as well. Now, we are going to attach the ID window backing, and we're just going to be holding it on with double-sided tape. Now, one of the things just to mention that when you do use double-sided tape for each of your pocket slits, you're putting the double-sided tape below the slit line, just like when you're going to sew across, you're sewing below the slit line. You don't have to have it from edge to edge. You can just have a piece that's big enough just to hold the fabric on. So the ID window backing, I do have a piece below, I have a piece of double-sided tape below there, so I'm just going to take the backing off. Use my stylus to help pull that off. Okay, and before I forget, I am also going to put double-sided tape all around this edge, right up to the slit sides, and that'll help keep your backing on until we get to the point where we're going to be sewing it. All right, just take the backing off of the double-sided tape. All right, and if you have a directional print, decide which way you want to be, the right side or the wrong side. I guess I'll stick it like that. Yeah, I'll stick it like that. So you still have the wrong side of your panel up, and then you're just going to line up this fabric just below that slit line. And covered with the double-sided tape. So isn't that pretty? This fabric, these colors from Sam Fabric Creation on this faux, like this waterproof canvas are gorgeous. So here we go. This is what when it's finished, this is what your ID window is going, I can get the card in. So there, it's going to sit like that. You won't ever see, when you have your ID in there, you're not going to see this pretty this pretty fabric, but it's just so pretty. All right, so now I'm going to cut my ribbon because we're going to start sewing the ribbon on. And before I forget, I have to put another strip of double-sided tape right here because I used it to hold the fabric on. And it's just, I'll just stick it below the line, the slit line. And then what you're going to do is you're going to need your template, your accordion fold template. And this is going to help you make your card slot pockets. And like I said, I'm using this purple ribbon. I've had it for a long time and I thought I might as well use it. Everything's purple and it's pretty. Okay. I'm going to leave it on the roll. I'm not cutting it. Now, one of the things is when you do have landscape material or the RFID or whatever you use, you're going to only have a certain amount of length that you cut, depending on the width of your fabric. Sorry, the width of your fabric. And then you're going to have to attach a couple of pieces together at some point. And usually it's up around the top. But this way, because I'm on a continuous ribbon roll, I'm not going to have to worry about it. What I do want to do, though, is I do want to just take the lighter and just kind of melt the ends of the edge of that ribbon, just so that it doesn't fray. What you do is you take off this piece of double-sided tape on the very bottom slit. Have your panel oriented top bottom. You've got your double-sided tape here. You're going to take your ribbon, whatever you decide to use, and you're going to put it over top of, you're going to center it between your two, I've got two lines marked here, so I can see where I would center. And I'm going to center that ribbon in between those two marks, and the ribbon is heading up towards the top of the panel. Then the double-sided tape, and of course when you put it on over top of the double-sided tape, make sure you have some overhang that's this way so that it's not going to come loose. Then I'm going to flip it to the right side, and then I'm going to sew across this next slit to hold that on. And that's going to start helping me create my pockets. And I'm sewing on the underneath of the slit. And as I said, I'm going to be tying my threads to the back, which is the time-consuming thing. You could leave all these to the end, but I find it's easier for me. It doesn't confuse me as much to do them all as I do each line. And then I'll just burn those ends to stop them fraying. Okay. All right. Then you take your fabric and you pull it down. and just give it a finger press. Take your accordion fold template and the top edge, and it's marked with, it says the top edge. Line it up with the next slit up and line up that top edge with that slit. Fold your ribbon down, whatever you're using, make sure that it's straight. Fold it up, hold that with your fingers, pull the template out, and then take off your double-sided tape backing on the next one. This is where you need a couple of hands, would be handy, a couple of extra hands. Tweezers would work too. And then fold that back up towards the top, making sure, like with me, I've got this ribbon so I can make sure that my edges stay lined up. And then flip it to the right, and then we're going to sew below the next line that's available. This is going to get twisted because it's already, it's on the roll. Make sure that on the underside, the loop that you've just made is heading towards the bottom and it's not going to get caught in the stitching. And tie your threads off. The wallet doesn't take this long to make. It's only because of the explaining every part for the tutorial. All right, snip those ends off and melt them. Okay, so we have the first card slot. I'll just use this as I'll use my card. Air miles. Okay. So right now, at this point, we have the ID window and we have our first card slot loop made. And even though the ribbon is it's 1.5 inches, it will still sit in there. It'll still catch and it'll still sit in there. Okay. So we have the first one made. And that's how it's going to look. So what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to finish these off up until this point, until we get to this point, and then I'll be back. All right, so I have made all of my slip pockets, my card pockets, up until this point. And on the reverse side, you can see all of my ribbon loops. Just like that. And I haven't done anything up to this point. Now, this is when we make the last loop, we aren't going to be, we're just going to be attaching the top of it with the double-sided tape template, about 1/4 of an inch up. I made it too long. And I've got it stuck to the double-sided tape because I took the backing off already. Pull that out. There, that's better. And then I'll just trim that excess off. Okay, so now the card should fit in there. Keep it flat. There we go. Now you can see the top. All right. Make sure on the next step is to make sure on the right side your loops aren't peeking through your slits. your loops are all loose on the back here. To hold them into place so that they don't get in any way in the way, I just take painter's tape and just kind of flatten them down and just hold them down with painter's tape. You're never going to see this. All right, so this is what we have for this panel. We have this is the right side. We have our ID window. We have all our card slots made on this side. And I've taped the card slots down flat so that they're not floppy and they don't get in the way. Now, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be putting a double-sided tape. You can use your Beacon 3-in-1 Fabri-Tac glue, your fabric glue. This is the fabric glue that I use, that I have right now. I do have a brand new bottle of the Beacon 3-in-1 Fabri-Tac, but I got this at Walmart. And it works just as good as the Beacon 3-in-1. It's only 4-ounce bottle, and it doesn't seem like a lot, but I've had this bottle almost 2 years now, and it lasts pretty good. But right now, I'm just going to take my double-sided tape, because what we're going to do is we're going to be folding the edges together and meet them as best as we can, nice and even, and we're going to be creating the one of the slip pockets on the inside. So, sorry, excuse me. So I'm just going to put double-sided tape right along the edge because I want those edges to be stuck down. Especially along this edge. And you can use your glue. All right, so I'm just going to take the backing off. Okay. And I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to meet these corners. Now, before I do that, just to let you know, I had some fuzzies, you know, on the from the underside fabric on my faux leather, and I just took a lighter all around the outer edge just to kind of burn those fuzzies off. So I'm going to take corner to corner, match it, make sure it's even as well as the edge. Especially this piece is very important because this is going to be, if you're right-handed, this is going to be the edge that's right up along your snap tab. And you want to make sure it's neat and tidy and both of your raw edges meet. Now flatten that. And I can see that this is off here. So I'm just going to trim that. I'm just going to line that up with my ruler and my rotary cutter. But before I do that, what we need to do is on this fold, top stitch right along here to finish this edge. I may not trim that yet until I get more of the bag made or the wallet made. So I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. Make sure it's completely flat and that edge is crisp as I sew my top stitching along there to create the slip pocket. And I'll just take my lighter to those ends. All right, that's it. We are done with this panel at the moment. Now we're going to work on the next card slot panel. And this one has the rest of the card slots. We're going to work the card slots just like we did with this panel, and we're going to make the other side of the slip pocket. Now, this is also where I'm going to be sewing on my sew-in bag tag. I could use my my metal bag tags, but that'll create too much of a bulge in here. So this is where I like to use my sew-in bag tags. And these are my brand new ones that I got from the Spotted Zebra in Alberta on Etsy. And in the description box below, there will be a link to her Etsy store. And typically I put in my bags, everything I make, I also put in my Made in Canada label that I got on Etsy. I will put a link to those as well. It's a company in the UK that makes these. I couldn't find a Canadian company, but they're pretty inexpensive for a bulk order. Anyhow, so this is, excuse me, so on this panel, there's nothing but card slots. So I already have all my card slots marked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start making my card slots. I'll do the first one with you, and then I'll go off camera and do the rest of them, because it's exactly like what we did with the other panel. So I'm just going to take this. I've already burned the edge there. I'm going to line that up in the center with the double-sided tape. I've got an overhang, and then I'm going to stitch that. And I'll tie my threads off to the back like before. This thread. I'm trying to grab it. I haven't been recording lately. It's the fall. We are surrounded by a bazillion 100-foot maple trees. So if I didn't deal with the leaves on a daily basis, our house would literally be buried. We have a really good lawnmower that is power driven, I guess you could call it. And I mulch. I don't rake unless I really, really have to. It's like hand sewing. I don't hand sew unless I really have to. Okay, so I'm just going to melt those ends. All right, take your accordion template, fold this back, and then line the top edge up with your slit on your next edge. Take away the backing. So I'll finish this one with you, and then I will go off camera and finish the rest of them if I can get the backing off. Just fold that up, flip it over to the right side, and then stitch across the bottom of that slit opening. Fighting with my threads today. Tie my threads off and then continue. Like I said, this is the time-consuming part. It's all of these pockets to make. Okay, so that's what I have so far, and I'll go off camera and finish them until we get to this point, and then I'll finish that off with you. Alrighty, so I have my card slots all done up to this point. Took a quick little coffee break with my Texas mug my sister, who used to live in Texas, sent me. And just as a quick thing, I forgot to mention another infomercial is in the description box on the on all of my videos. There's a link if you so choose, and if you would like to help support my channel, to buy me a coffee, would be great. Coffee is what keeps me going, like a lot of bag makers, and it's not expected or anything like that. I appreciate anybody who would like to buy me a coffee and help me keep creating and producing content like these videos. Take another sip. All right, so I have this point. I have all of these done up until this point. And yep, they're all done. I gotta check to make sure I've done them all. Down. Yep, okay, my God. All right, so this is where we end off here. So we'll make our last card slot. Put all those down, fold this down, and then use our template. And we're just going to put that up about a quarter, just kind of where the, I have my double-sided tape to hold the ribbon down. About a quarter of an inch up from the last, very top slit. Fold this, pull your card slot template out. Take the backing off of your double-sided tape, fold that forward. Then just fold it back. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it away from the double-sided tape. And my scissors disappeared. And oh, they're right here in front of my face. And then just trim that off. All right, and I'm just going to just melt the end of that for when I go to use it next. And then I'll just fold the faux leather back and just take a flame to that just to melt that so it doesn't fray. All right, we have all of our card slots made. Just roll up my ribbon. Actually, this worked quite nicely. And again, just to hold these all down, Just make sure, you know, just line them all up evenly. Take a piece of painter's tape. Flatten them all. Oops, I guess I can go down a little further with this. Line them up a little better. And just smooth them all flat. Not as much edge down here to hold it on, but there they are. And I'll get my card and we'll just check to make sure that they're all working. I can't even grab it. I'm doing this backwards. When it's all sewn together, it'll be perfect. There we go. And they all work. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my double-sided tape. I don't need this template anymore. And I'm just going to take my double-sided tape and put it all around these edges. I'm not going to affix it yet. Oh, before I do that, I want to just take my lighter just to these raw edges, just to melt off or to singe off any kind of fuzzies that might be along that raw edge and could cause it to look uneven. I have problems with these Bic lighters that I buy in bulk from Amazon. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And yet they're full, they're brand new, so I have to have another one handy just in case the other one doesn't want to click. Okay. All right, so now I'm just going to put the double-sided tape along these edges, right along that very edge, because I want these edges to be right closed without any gaps. Okay, and what I'm just going to do right at the moment, I want to just kind of clip these because I have to put my bag tag on and I don't want to close it up yet. I just want to put some clips just to kind of see where the where I could center my bag tag on, and then I'm going to sew that on. Just take the backings off. And I'm just going to center it just up in this area here. All right, and I'm just going to now sew it on. Actually, I have to fold these guys back because I don't want it being sewn onto my card slots. And I'll just clip my loops out of the way. And I will be pulling the threads to the back. All right. Okay, so there is my bag tag sewn on. And now I'm going to take the double-sided tape off and fold this. Make sure that this is back on there. I'm going to take another piece of painter's tape and try and hold this down a little better at the end. Not that it makes any difference, but... All right, and again, we'll make sure that we line up all of our corners and our edges. Do this one first. The aim of the game is to not have any or hardly any trimming. I'm just going to squish that down. And then we're going to top stitch along this folded line, and this creates our second slip pocket for cash or receipts or whatever you want it for. Just clip it down to hold it flat as I top stitch across that fold. And I will be back stitching before at the beginning and the end. All right, just take the lighter to the thread ends. All right, so now we have our 2 slip pockets and card slots all made. All right, I will be back with the next step. Okay, so now the next section is we want our zipper pocket. Our zipper box piece. It has markings on the top of where to put your snap tab, which we've already made. It has a mark down at the bottom of where the female magnetic snap is going to be. It also has a line here. It shows the coin pocket outline, and I just still have to draw my line there so I know exactly where my line will go. And then, of course, we have our zipper box cut out. So just let me make a mark to where the corn pocket will end. I didn't make that on my fabric. All right, so I have my marks on the fabric now. I have the line where I know the coin pocket is going to end because this whole section in here is the coin pocket. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the double-sided tape. I put it all around the zipper box, and we're just going to take that off. Okay, you're going to need your zipper. And what I want to do is just melt the ends. Make sure your zipper pull is on. Many zippers I've made and I forget to put the zipper pull on. All right, so put your zipper down, right side up, teeth up on your work surface. And right side up of your material, and then center your zipper onto your zipper box. But before I forget, because of the raw edges, and I can see that it's fraying, you can see some of the fraying here. I just want to take my lighter and go along the inside. I should have done that before I put the double-sided tape down, but that's okay. I just want to singe some of those edges. Okay, so then take your zipper tape or your main fabric. What I do is I line up the zipper teeth in between this edge and this edge and this one and this one. And when they're centered in that, it pretty much falls into place to be centered top and bottom, your zipper tape. Now the zipper tape is big, so I'm going to have to cut it down, which is okay. Just make sure everything's lined up. Okay, and I'm just going to stitch around the zipper box to hold the zipper in place, and I'll be tying my threads to the back. When your zipper pull is in the way, lift your presser foot, move the zipper out of the way, the zipper pull. You probably could go over your zipper teeth, back stitch over your zipper teeth just to make sure that they're secure. Actually, that's what I'm doing, and I won't have to worry about pulling the teeth to the back or the threads to the back. I'll just back stitch over top of my zipper teeth. And trim your threads. And just take a lighter to those thread ends. Okay. All right, so there we have it there, all stitched in. Now my zipper tape is longer, even though I did melt those ends, so I'm just going to cut it down till it's about maybe 1/4 of an inch long. And just melt the ends again. Oops. Okay, so now we have our zipper installed. And we're going to take our other lining piece that's the same size as your zipper panel, and you're going to need your 2 slip pockets and card slots. First of all, before I forget, I'm going to take here where we've made the marks, we have to still install the magnetic snap, the female, and our snap tab. So I'm going to take a piece of duct tape, my good old standby. Actually, I want a bigger piece for there. This is Gorilla Tape and it's really strong. Okay, so I'm just going to take my stylus, pop it into the center of the duct tape, find where that mark is and stick the stylus right in the center. Get the female portion of my magnetic snap. Put the washer hole over top of that hole I just made with the stylus and mark my slip marks for my magnetic snap. If I can line them up. And my seam ripper to make the slits. Put the female portion of the magnetic snap in from the right side and the prongs are coming up on the wrong side. Put your washer on, splay the prongs open, and then I just push them up against my desk just to secure them. And then I'm putting another piece of duct tape over top just to give it some strength and to protect it. Now in between these 2 marks, I'm going to put some double-sided tape. That's going to hold down the snap tab. And because where I have it, where I've used a number 5 zipper, I'm just going to line it up. You're going to have it so that your male magnetic snap is facing up. Center your snap tab in between these 2 marks, and you can see if that kind of lines up by folding up your edge and seeing if this is where it's all going to line up when you put your your snap on. And it does. Okay, so now we're just going to leave this piece for the moment. Okay, now we're going to take the other piece, the inside lining piece. There is a measurement that is slightly longer than the other side. So what you want to do is you want to take your, so if you have it going this way, this is the longer edge. If you line up your raw edge with the longer edge, you're going to find that it is not, that this going this way is too big. So you need to turn it horizontal so that the shorter edge is right along here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put double-sided tape. Now there might be a bit of an overhang. I'm going to overhang it from the bottom. So I'm going to put double-sided tape just along each of these edges, making sure it's right up against the edge. And if there's any trimming to do, then it can be done. And we're not sewing anything on yet. So what you need to figure out for yourself is when you have your inside, wrong sides together with your exterior, and it's folded up like this. I'm right-handed, so I like to have my snap tab so it's available on my right with my right hand to open. And I would assume left-handed people would prefer it on the left side. I'm not sure about that. It's just your preference, but figure out how you want your inside card pockets, slip pockets lined up. So because I have my tab opening from the right side, if I have this open like this, then I want my slip pockets, my card slots to be this way up. If I somehow made it that I had it on the left side and left the card slots like that and opened it up this way, they'd be upside down. And then you would have to make that, change if you're left-handed. Just figure out which way you want them oriented. I want it oriented so that my snap tab is here on the right-hand side, which means my zipper pocket is underneath, is right there on that side, on the right side as well. Therefore, I'm going to line up. I'm going to have these so that your folded edges are in the center, and when you open up your slip pocket, they open up like that. So I'm going to take the double-sided tape off. Now, the edges to make sure that meet the best is this edge, the edge that your snap tab is going to be on. You want these edges to be perfectly matched so that you don't see any kind of overhang. And I'm going to start at the top corner and line up that top corner first, because there will be most likely some overhang on the bottom. Make sure that all these edges are lined up and one is not higher than the other. Just move some excess double-sided tape underneath. And we're still not sewing anything, because when everything is all together, then we'll sew. So check it from the back as well to make sure everything meets and matches. And you can see that I do have some overhang here. And I'll be trimming that off as soon as I get these guys lined up. And then I'll line up the other one, lining up that top corner. And your raw edge is with the raw edge here on this one side lining panel. Okay. If there are any edges that need to be cleaned up, now's the time to do it. Check the front and the back. So as you can see on the back, you can see I've got overhang, and then that I'm going to take my rotary cutter and trim that off, trim it off straight, making sure all of this isn't buckled underneath, because this Mora faux leather does have a stretch to it. And then I make sure that this edge, because this is the edge that's going to be going up against my snap tab, is even. All right, so I'm just going to go trim make sure these edges are even before we glue it onto this panel, and I'll be back. Okay, now I'm back, and Frankie's here with us as well. I'm recording this probably, I think, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I started the video. I kind of took some time off because I really needed to take a break. And if you look outside, you can see that we have some snow on our barbecue and in the background in the bush behind us. So yeah, a little bit of time has gone by. I definitely needed a break, and now I'm back at it. All right, so this is where we left off. We have the exterior of our tall wallet from SewGnar done with the zipper pocket, or the zipper installed, and then I just have clipped on the magnetic snap tab, and it's just being held on with a bit of double-sided tape and some clips. And then we've completed the inside of the wallet. So there's 2 slip pockets, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 6 here. There's 10 card slots, and then an ID pocket. And then I sewed in my sew-in bag tag. All right, so the next step that we're going to be doing, and at the beginning of the video, I hadn't decided whether I was going to be doing any edge coating, because when you put this wallet together, when you do put the wrong sides together, you are left with raw edges, just like that. Some are going to be thick, and some are going to be thinner when they're put together. One of the important things to remember is when you do when we do get to the stage of gluing this together, you want to make sure that your edges have enough glue on them to hold the edges together so they're sealed, but also that the edges meet as best as they can. Like mine are a little rough, so if you can smooth those up with your rotary cutter and that. But so I have decided I'm going to edge coat this one. I don't like the look of just the raw edge. It just looks unfinished. So before I do any, before I sew this all up and then create the zipper pocket, coin pocket stitching across the center, there's a little bit that I kind of figured out. First of all, I'm going to take my corners, and I'm just going to use, this is my M-class bobbin, and I'm just going to curve off the corners. So before I do, before I glue it all together. And then the other thing to remember to do before you glue this all together is you need to do the edge of your tab. and that's before it gets sewn in to the wallet. And then, so I've just got it there for now. So what I have to do is now I'm going to be edge coating all around this raw edge. But also you make sure that, because when the tab is on your wallet and these pieces are together, make sure I get them going the right way. You need to make sure before you sew everything together that you edge coat these edges, especially along here and especially along here, first, before you glue it together, or even just to do this section or this section, and then when it's all glued together and when it's all sewn together, then you can finish it off. But make sure that this raw edge and under here are done first when you do your tab, because once that's sewn in and then you edge coat afterwards, it's going to be very difficult to get in here without smearing any of the glue or edge coating on, or if you're doing paint, it's going to be very hard not to smear that on. So one of the things, now there are a couple of things that you can do for edge coating. This is why this video is taking so long to do. So there's Giardini, sorry, I'm of Italian heritage and I can't even speak Italian. It's your base coat. And then there's a top coat as well. I get this from EMMALINE bags. So it's kind of, it looks like a Mod Podge, or it looks like thinned out Elmer's white glue, you know, that the kids use at school. And there's a way, you know, and then you can get this little gizmo that when you roll it, you can dip it into the base coat and you can roll it on, and then roll it along the edge. Here's a little piece of that I've been playing with, or you can roll it along the edge here, and this should roll. Now I had to put some machine oil, like my soy machine oil, down in here, and then it undoes at the bottom. So make sure that when you wash this, you open it up and make sure it dries without any moisture being caught inside. So it's got a hole, and then this little thing sits in the hole, and it helps with rolling. So I used a bit of soy machine oil on that to help with the rolling, but I've never been happy using this. So what I found was this. First of all, before you do any edge coating, make sure that your edges, you're going to have little fuzzies sticking out. Well, that's the tape. I'm not worried about this raw edge, but you're going to have little fuzzies along the edge. So I take my lighter and I really take the lighter to the edge to burn off any fuzzies, especially with the Mora faux leather from EMMALINE bags, because it does fray. The underside does fray. And if you have a bit of very fine sandpaper, then sand that off to get any rough edges off. All right, so this is what I use. One of the things I use to seal these raw edges first is I use my Dries Clear glue. It's a craft glue for paper crafting and that, but I found that it does work very well with the raw edges of your faux leathers and vinyls. Now, Nicole Neal's from SewGnar, when she does all of her raw edge sewing wallets and bags and stuff like that, she uses Eileen's glue and fabric glue, which I've used before too, but I've run out of it. So I'm using the Dries Clear, and that works just as well. So with this needle nose, or this needle applicator, it's very fine, which helps to get it a nice fine bead along your edge, where you can also use it to help smooth it flat. Now you're probably going to need a few layers of this, and it does take time to dry. So I'm just going to bring the camera down. So my arms are not up in the air. Okay. And I'm just going to start from the top because it'll help run it down. I'm just at the one corner. There it comes out now. Actually, I'll go here. And of course, I'm doing this not right under my face, so it's not going to be perfect. Let me do it this way. But you can get the idea with a very thin bead. Usually I have my glasses off for this because then I can see better. But the glue helps to settle into your edge, your two seams or your two pieces of material, or even four, and helps to smooth out those raw edges that aren't quite even. And then I just go I do this very slow. It's not perfect, but I do take the tip of this needle and just kind of dab it just to make sure I get all the edges. I just find for me this works way better than, and it's finer. It gives me a finer tip. It's like I like using a super fine pen to write with. Who writes anymore? So this is going to dry. It's going to be the first coat, and I'll use this, and I'll do the second coat when this dries. And then I'm just going to go around the edge. This is a very thin edge, whereas the rest of your wallet won't be in some areas, as I showed you earlier. And the eyelid, and this does, it does dry clear. Now, one of the things you can also do if you want color and you don't have fabric paint is you can take a black permanent marker. A Sharpie is best. I use the chisel points, and you can paint the edge with your chisel point black, and or whatever color that you might want to use if you don't have fabric paint, and then you can use this over top of it, and then it does give a nice seal, and it does help with costs for not painting. Like I said, this will take a bit of time to dry. The EMMALINE's does not take as long to dry, and the Giardini base coats and products do not take as long to dry. But I just find that this seals up those edges better. Then it just gets into the cracks better. Now it's a little lumpy, but it will smooth out. Just like that. And then I just take a couple of clips and use them to make a stand so that it stands up like this and it doesn't fall over, and then I can take that again along these edges, and I'm just going to go around the edges that that'll go past that tab when it's attached, and then I'll finish it all at the end. I'll just go a little bit. I'm not going to do the whole, maybe I'll do the whole edge. When I get to the corners, of course, I didn't round my corners like I said I was going to do. I'll still have to do that. And get into these cracks that aren't quite sealed. Like I said, edge coating is not my forte. I haven't done enough of it. Just like binding when I first started binding. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a couple of clips on this and lean it up against something so that that edge can dry. Doesn't fall against anything. And then I'll just do this edge, just so I have at least one coat on before I finish sewing it. And then when I sew it, I'll probably do the other coat because it'll be raised a bit and I'll be able to get at it better. But this little needle bottle helps get it. Of course, you can wipe the edges off, but this helps to apply it that much easier. When all the layers are together, it's that much easier to apply as well. A little wider than this edge. So I still have to trim my corners. All right, so I've done that edge and I'm just going to lay that up against something so that it doesn't fall. Now, one of the things to make sure of is, because this is such a tiny tube, I know this is crazy, but I blow what's in the tube, you know, tap it down so that it's out of the top. And then blow it out of the tube, sorry, excuse me, and then put the cap back on so that it doesn't dry. And then you don't get glue residue still that blocks up your, sorry, excuse me, your needle tube. Now, one of the things that I do have, like I said, I could use my black Sharpie to paint the edges, to initially paint the edges, and then just leave them like that. Or I do have, now I bought this a long time ago and I haven't really used it, but I got this from Amazon, and it's fabric paint and it's metallic. So there's all these different colors in it. Like I said, I haven't used it before, but it comes with a bunch of stuff. It comes with some stencils if you're into fabric painting, and it has all these beautiful colors in there, including black. The metallic isn't that metallic. So this is the black that I'm using on the edge coating, and the cap for the for these little 1 ounce squeeze bottles fits perfectly on the top of this. So I can just leave it like that and use it to paint with the edge, and it works perfectly. So I was really happy about that I didn't have to squeeze some of this into one of those little squeeze bottles. So that's just kind of my little tip on how I do edge painting. And Frankie's here knocking stuff over. And I will come back when all of this has dried, and then I have trimmed my corners, and I have and it's all ready for me to glue back. It's going to take some time because it has to dry. This is a wallet that I have made already. So this is one that's made from the dark brown Mora faux leather. This is for a customer, and I've done the edge coating on this, and it's turned out, actually it's turned out okay. It's not the greatest because I don't have fine sandpaper to sandpaper it smooth in between each layer of the glue and then the fabric paint, but it turned out not too bad. Here's the finished look of the tall wallet. So anyhow, all right, so I'll be back when I have these layers all ready to glue together, and we'll see you then. Okay, so I have done the coating of the Dries Clear glue on the top edges here and all around the magnetic snap tab. And I did try to, and I used my Sharpie black marker to go around these edges just to see what it would be like. And then I can finish it off using my metallic fabric paint after I finish edge coating everything. But right now that I have this edge done, this edge done, and then of course all around the magnetic snap, now's the time that we're going to glue these pieces together. And what we want to do is on this side with the zipper is we want to make sure that the glue goes all around the top edge, all across the top edge of, or this edge of the magnetic snap and here, and make sure you get as close to the edges as you can without it oozing out. Then we're going to put the glue along this edge and down this edge until we get to this line, which is the demarcation line for the coin pouch. And then we're going to put the glue all in this whole area here. So I'm using my fabric glue, the one that I got from Walmart. Waiting to use that up before I open up my brand new bottle of the Fabri-Tac Beacons Fabri-Tac, which I've had for a while. This stuff has lasted pretty good. All right, so I'm going to make sure that I get up close to the edges because I want these edges really sealed. Make sure I get in here and along the edge of that tab. I don't cover your zipper because you need to be able to open that and get your hand in to put your coins in. So I'm just going all along down this edge and smoothing it in. It's probably going to ooze out. And then along this line here, put it all straight across the line and then really glue this up to hold everything together. Making sure that I do put a lot of glue on where my magnetic snap is as well. Just take my bottle edge and smear things in a bit better. Along the edge here. And as we put it together and squish it together, it will ooze out a bit, but it can be wiped off. I just want to make sure that I get all these spots covered and that my edges are good. Now, what I have found making this wallet is what's most important is I fold up this one edge. I line up this edge with this edge so that it is seamless, if you can say it that, call it that. And I'm going to turn it this way so I can see what I'm doing. And that I've already trimmed my corners. I did trim those off, so I have those all ready to go. And the important thing is to make sure that this top edge meets. And that it all lines up so that you don't have any one edge lower than the other. That's the beauty of the glue. You can pull it like double-sided tape. You can pull it off and move it. Making sure that that's even. As best as possible. And I'm going to use the hair clips as clips to hold it in place. because these don't leave marks in the faux leather like the Wonder Clips can. And then I'll start working with the rest of the placement of the wallet. But I just wanted to get this top edge aligned. Okay. Now we can work on it, work on our edges, squish it down as we go. It's looking pretty good. And these clip really nice so that they do help to line up the edges and clamp them fairly tight. And a lot of these gaps will be filled in with the glue. I'm going to smooth this down. Of course, your zipper tab is going to be in the way, but this part isn't glued on the underside. And I'll just start lining up these edges now. This is where all the glue is. And that's what the edge coating will do. It'll help to fill in these semi-uneven edges. You can go and trim this before you do any edge coating to make sure that it's all even and that there aren't any wonky edges. And we'll have to see if we're going to do that after. And then this is where the glue starts to glue down the rest of the wallet, whereas up here there isn't any glue. Flatten it as much as we can, and it looks like I will have to trim some of these edges off before we do any edge coating. Yeah, I'll have to trim some of this off. All right, so now we will wait for this to dry. I have it all clipped together. And then we'll go from there. And then after that, we'll stitch around and I'll be back. Okay, so what I have now done is I've let the glue dry with the two pieces, the front, the interior and the exterior of this tall wallet. The glue has dried. I've trimmed all of my corners and I have trimmed off the edges to make sure that they were even. And then what I did do is I used the Dries Clear, one coating of Dries Clear all around the edge, including on the tab. And then I let that completely dry. And then I did, before I did the Dries Clear, sorry, I did use my black permanent Sharpie marker and I went all around the edge so that it was black. And then I used the Dries Clear, one layer of Dries Clear, and then I let that dry. And then I did use one layer of the Ghirardini base coat, which is matte, but it didn't come out super matte. And now, like I said, my Edge coating isn't the greatest, but this is how it looks. And that's all finished. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sewing, because we still have to sew all the way around. So I'm going to be sewing all the way around the perimeter of the wallet. And when I get to the edges where the slip pockets are, there's the 4, I'll be making sure that I backstitch over these areas because they are stress points. And also on the flap, I'll probably start here on the flap, and I will backstitch before and after at the beginning of the flap just to make sure that it's sewn in good, and then on this set edge as well. Now what I also did was I also trained the wallet to fold, and I have a fold here. Now in the pattern she has, in order to sew the coin pocket, because if you don't sew this down here somewhere, if the glue pops open, then all your coins are going to fall right down to the bottom. So she has it in the pattern that you follow along this slip pocket line, but I folded it in the center, and I will sew my stitch line down the center so that you're not going to see stitching here on the back, and that I'll make sure that the stitching line is down the center so it's right on the fold. So we're just going to do that right now. And I just want to mark where those, just where the slip pocket corners are. So I will make sure that I see them so that I can back stitch there to make sure that they're secure. And I'm going to be doing an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, because I'm going to be doing the top stitching with the right side up. Okay, so when you do get to sewing around your magnetic snap, be very, very careful because it is close to this edge, and your presser foot may get in the way of it. Just coming around these corners now. They're not very big corners. They're just enough to take the sharpness off those at that edge. Okay, so I just have to watch while I go over where the presser foot is coming up to this magnetic snap, because I can see that it's going to possibly hit it, and I just have to make sure I hold my wallet in place while the presser foot kind of just pushes it over a little bit, just get it out of the way so that I keep my stitch line straight. Oh, there goes Murphy, bugging the cat. And now I'm just going to stitch down that center line that I have a fold in, making sure that I back stitch at the beginning and the end. And I can just see the fold. Okay. Okay, it is finally done after at least 2 weeks. I finally have this video completed and the My Tall Wallet completed. So this is, of course, the tall wallet from SewGnar. And I have used the purple Mora faux leather from EMMALINE bags. I'm glad it's mine because I made a mistake and hit the fabric with my permanent black marker. I could always put something there. All right, so you have a magnetic snap to close the front. On the back, you have a coin zipper pocket, which has lots of room for all of your coins. And then on the inside, and what I love about this wallet, it's slim. It's such a slim profile, but it holds so much. So when you open it up, it has 2 slip pockets for your cash or checkbook if you still carry a checkbook or any receipts. And it has an ID window so that you can put in, you know, your driver's license or health card or whatever. And then it has 10 card slots. So we have the ID window, you have 4 here or 6 here, 4, and a total of 10 card slots. And this is such a great, great wallet. As I said earlier in the video, it's kind of the similar basis as Lynn's Handmade's Purse Pal, except for it has more card slots, more card pockets, and they're inside. They're kept inside, and then you know, they're not on the outside with a tab over top to hold them in. So this is definitely my wallet, and it turned out really well, and I'm very glad about that. Even my edge painting isn't the greatest, but it worked and it turned out very, very well. So this is another one that I made for a customer. It's brown, and it's the dark brown Mora faux leather. There's the ID window. I put my business card in. Now I didn't trim the corners off, so you can see the difference of what rounding the corners versus keeping them straight. And also I forgot to mention that the little patch of material scrap that in here is waterproof canvas with PVC backing from Sam Fabric Creation. And so there we go. This is the tall wallet from SewGnar. Thanks so much for joining with me. If you're part of my YouTube community, thank you so much for coming back and sharing, sewing along with me on this YouTube tutorial. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and thank you for hanging out with me. If you'd like to subscribe, on the bottom right corner of your screen, there's a red subscribe button. Click that. Click on the notification bell to change your notifications to see all posts, so that when I do a live or I do a tutorial, you will get a notification of that. And also, if you feel like buying me a coffee, there's a link in the description box to buy me coffee. That would be great. Coffee keeps me going, and it keeps me producing these guys. So, all right, we will see you at the next tutorial. Thanks so much again for hanging out with me.